1,337. That is how many days from when Netflix released their streaming platform to when Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy. 1,337 days. The CEO of Blockbuster, John Antioco, said at the time, the dot-com hysteria is completely overblown. 1,337 days before a $1.2 billion company crumbled. It turns out the dot-com bubble was not overblown, and tech giants rose from the ashes and created massive companies at that time. They crushed many businesses in their path, and they crushed many businesses that simply didn't believe that the internet was here to stay. There was another quote at the time: companies rarely die from moving too fast, and they frequently die from moving too slow. Anyone guess who said that? Reed Hastings from Netflix. We've all heard the relationship that AI will be bigger, if not the same, if not bigger than the internet. As we strap into GPT and listen to all the pundits say that AI will be the extinction of the human workforce, we have to sit back and wonder where we're going to be 1,337 days from now. So I'm here to tell you about that future and try to show you what might happen in 1,337 days. I've said that like 10 times now. But today is October 3rd, 2024, and we are all entrepreneurs in this room, and we are all trying to figure out how to either run our business or keep our business stable through this turbulent times. And we are all questioning how we as humans let us give birth to AI. But I'm going to tell you that there's hope. I'm standing here before you seeing all of the products that are being built and all of the people trying to build these products, and there is hope, and we are going to be fine. In the last 6 months, I've traveled specifically for this talk to meet some of the executives at some of the top companies, ask them what they're planning and what they're doing with AI. I've met with executives at OpenAI, Microsoft, Google, and Amazon, who's building on top of Claude, Anthropic, and those are the Alexa people. From the products I'm specifically a part of, building with my team, and also from the products being presented at conferences across America in the last few months, there's a very clear underlying technology that you need to know about. You need to understand this technology so that you can prepare your business to be adaptive. And that's one of the important takeaways. We have to be adaptive. We have to adjust as AI keeps changing. We have to be able to adjust to the new technology. This is not a test, and this is not a bubble anymore. If you do not start making adjustments to your business, you too are going to become the next Blockbuster. Or if you just keep making tiny adjustments, you can at least turn Blockbusters into Dollar Trees. But I'm gonna you like the Dollar Trees? I found that picture and I was like, you can't not unsee that. But I'm not going to promise that SEO is going to be fine. I don't know those answers today. Even with all of the information that the technology giants have, they don't know those answers either. We also don't know that Google is either going to change or stay the same. We don't know if ads are going to change. We hope they don't, but they're doing well now, and we don't know the future. We're all sitting here hoping that maybe hallucinations are always going to be an issue, and large language models are never going to solve that problem. But maybe they do, maybe they don't. I don't know that answer either. And we also always wonder when machines are finally going to code like developers. And that hasn't happened yet, and we don't know the date and when that's going to happen. But I do know one thing for certain. We will all be using our own AI agents to retrieve information at superhuman speed. The amount of information that agents can search, digest, filter, and present feels like magic, and it will make Google search feel very, very old. AI agents will be deployed autonomously across the internet to do many of the jobs that we hold today as humans. In fact, they already are, and we are part of building that future. So my name is Andrew, and I'm the CEO of 923 Studio. So my team and I have been building AI products for 8 years. We've been building products, mobile apps, and custom webs for 12 years now. And a lot of those customers have included customers like Consumer Reports, Experian, SimpliSafe, and NPR. In Mexico, with a lot of you, I sat down by a poolside and I tried to show you how machines can start automating tasks by remembering the previous tasks. I think I took out some sandals and maybe a cell phone and tried to show that if you take one action and remember that previous action, the machine can kind of take an autonomous step to go step by step. Well, 6 months have been a long time in the AI world, and a lot has changed, including the namology of what we call things. So today we are calling them AI agents. And so what exactly is an AI agent? An AI agent is a piece of software that uses AI to accomplish a multi-step goal on behalf of the user. You can think of an AI agent like Zapier. So you imagine how we all used Zapier before with a bunch of API requests. Think of Zapier, but without the UI UX and with like hundreds of steps inside of the Zap. Every AI agent consists of three things: the AI model, which encompasses all the tools and the memory. The tools themselves can be called on by the agent or the model, and the agents must remember past commands to make it really important. Now, we call it AI agents instead of AI husbands because I specifically go to CVS, walk into the store, go into a specific aisle, call my wife and say, what was I supposed to be here for? And she says, the milk at the grocery store. So I would be a horrible AI agent because you have to remember the tasks one after the other and make sure you can carry those tasks all the way through. So one of my data scientists put this together for us, and this is kind of for you to remember throughout this talk. This is exactly how an AI agent thinks about the input and the output process. The information at the top is an agent extractor that controls the agent, which is an LLM or could be an LLM. And the LLM can use the tools or the assets it has for it to create that output. So keep this model in mind as we think about how agents can get paid, how agents can have specific jobs, and how they can be designed by anyone or any company. I'd like to think of the Matrix moment when he puts his hand to his earpiece to listen to the command. It's kind of like a soldier, like a hired soldier. Like, I am going on a mission, I'm going to complete a task, and I'm going to do anything I can to complete that task. So I also think of Agent Smith in this scenario. So one of the most common agents that you've all used in this room, if you've used ChatGPT before, is if it can't specifically find the answer for you, it'll say, I'm searching the web. That is an agent. It goes out and finds the web, and it returns search results. We don't specifically have a cost for that yet, but you can see that if you were to have it in a marketplace, the AI agent would cost 4 cents. So Bob, just a random guy, has created an agent for a marketplace called the Color Picker. This Color Picker agent is designed for when you give it a URL, it goes to that website and finds all the colors that exist on that URL. And it returns to the user, or returns to the person that was requesting the information, the types of colors that appear on that website. That is a specific agent. We have a product called DataFlick. It predicts with accuracy 85% of the houses that go for sale each month. So you give it a zip code, and it can return you 10 houses with 85% accuracy, which house will be for sale that month. That could be an entire AI agent. Now, a much larger one than Bob's Color Picker, but the same idea is still true. The Delta agent is something that's very interesting that they're working on. It is obviously to book flights, but it's also to give you the selected flights between two destinations. If you're working on any platform, just like Jim's honeymoon platform, and he wanted to book a flight for one of his honeymoons, he can simply just call the AI agent to go book that flight for him, and off the agent will go and complete that task. One of my favorite ones, and one of the scary ones, and one we've used specifically, is called the human in the loop. The agent all of a sudden decides it can't complete the task, so instead of just stopping, it goes onto a website like Fiverr or requests back to a human in an office and says, hey, can you help me complete this task? And so the human will go and do the task for the agent, return the information that's necessary, and off the agent will go to complete its mission. Agents can also hire other agents, which is a whole fun thing on itself, but you can imagine if you're trying to translate something and you know one language and another agent knows another language, you can translate between two computer systems. There's two giant marketplaces that have been released in the last, this conference season that we're in right now. One on Salesforce and one on HubSpot. HubSpot now is about 85 agents, designed mostly by Dalmesh, the CTO, but they do have a lot of agents in there that can do different things. Any of us that are using HubSpot can log in, find an agent, use it for our CRM, and deploy it for our use whenever we need something inside of HubSpot. There's about 14 marketplaces. Every single big tech company that you can think of, including Google, Microsoft, Claude, HubSpot, Salesforce, they all have their own agent marketplace where you can go and find these agents to deploy for your workforce or deploy for your business. So how will agents work? Now, the scary thing is if agents start doing stuff like Agent Smith could do and kind of replicate themselves, but we're hoping that agents can be still controlled by humans, and currently today that they are. So the system that is designed, that we've all used technology before, or the way that we use technology, is pretty simple, right? You think of an idea, and from that idea, you can't necessarily complete the task until you find a device. You have to go out and find a computer or a laptop or whatever it happens to be to complete your task, and you're presented with a user interface and a user experience. At the end of your funnel of trying to solve something using technology, you get the results. So if you add in some of the steps that are really important to understand how to use or interface with a device, the first thing is that the human needs to find the device, and then they go in and they find a search bar. Now, which search bar is depending on what the human's thinking about. Databases are all over the place, and it's up to the human to decide which app or which search bar is most prevalent for them to find the information that's necessary. If they need to buy a toaster, they go on Amazon, and they search in the bar, I'm looking for a toaster, and Amazon will present you back with a bunch of toasters for you to select. Once they respond with that information, the human must confirm the results. And don't forget, the information they're sending you is the computer's like, hey, I got a few ideas. Are these ones that you want? And the human then has to say, I want that third one, right? Because the other humans have selected first and second, more popular. But for you specifically, you have to decide as a human which one you want. Once you confirm that request, servers are called, information is transmitted, and you end up with the results that you thought you wanted from the very beginning. Or you use to buy a toaster and you decide the price is too much and you have to redo the whole process by going back to the beginning and do an entire search on eBay again by finding a different search with a different result on a different platform. With an agentic process, a lot of those steps are skipped. The first thing is notable is you don't have to find the specific search bar because the search exists right from the prompt itself, from ChatGPT or whatever search bar you're using. So the human has to think of the problem, find the device, and then enter that information into ChatGPT. And at that point, they're just presented back with the results, kind of the middle of the funnel results. Those results are still presented back to them, and they can decide that these were not proper and they have to go through the whole process again. But you can see we've already passed through 2 of the steps by making this more simple. And I also like to point out that this is why we've been calling it co-pilots, because it's not autonomous. It's still us assisting the computer and guiding them through the guardrails to make sure they're getting the right information and returning the thing that we were originally seeking, right? It's not fully autonomous yet. So the entire process over the last, 25 years when computers have been invented, have started with traditional programs that are fully deterministic programs with very narrow tasks, right? And you can think of the early days of computers, they didn't have much autonomy to them. As we created more programs like CRMs and things that could do, kind of autonomous steps, we created and programmed those agents to do it. Zapier is a great example of a programmed agent. As we came across ChatGPT and some of these large language models, we started creating specialized agents, things that could do general tasks and a little bit more autonomy. What this agentic future and these AI agents present to us is finally the ability to go from specialized agents to general agents. And this is the big step that we're looking at as technologists and as developers for other companies. Don't even talk about the top left one. I don't even know when that happens or why that happens or what goes from general agents to AGI. Long ways away from there. But what's important to know is that all of these agents we are creating are personalized. And when you create a personalized agent, you can kind of think of Neo in the Matrix working with the architect. The architect knows all of the events that Neo went through in his life. He knows what he's thinking. He knows all of the actions that he took throughout those 3 movies, which are his life. But he also knows, and Neo has granted access to the Matrix, which allows them to monitor and understand his personal thoughts and his personal needs, right? And it's kind of the same thing inside of these computer systems. And I've been mentioning the Matrix a lot, and we've all kind of seen it, or I hope we have. It's a great movie. But it's about how, the end result of that movie is that we didn't control the machines the right way, and the machines eventually took over, right? And I love this quote from Morpheus. He says that, a sentinel for every man and woman and child in Zion. That sounds exactly like machine thinking to me. And what that means is that we're putting these personalized agents on everybody's phone, and every human will have their own personal agent to work with and modify and play with. So imagine a world where every human has this personalized AI model. This model is basically an extension of yourself. It's a wizard that learns your habits, anticipates your needs, and seamlessly handles tasks across your digital life. It's not just a tool, it's a digital extension of yourself. But why is this so important? Because every company that controls this AI assistant is going to control the demographics of the individuals that hold the information. They're going to be the key to controlling the future of the internet. They have an unprecedented access to your calendar, your text message to your wife or your spouse, your apps that you log into, the information that you're trying to access. This is why all of the tech giants are buying up GPUs, because the race is on to try to find out who is going to control that AI assistant. And when I think of this, I think of Tank sitting in front of all of the matrix machines, right? They all know what you buy, what type of thoughts that you have, and all of the habits and tendencies that you're going through, but they'll be watching you. They'll be watching you compared to other users in the system and seeing their tendencies and seeing what path or journey you're on to see what similarities you have to others. And I believe there's two paths we can go on as a society. The first path is a free society, which is Apple and Google, pushing these AI assistants onto our devices and into our pockets. Both Apple and Google have released their large language models onto phones in form of iOS 18 and Android 9. Android 9 is already out. I don't think Apple Intelligence is actually available. But those are free models in which you buy a phone and you're presented with the AI assistant that is going to start to learn your behaviors. There is a world in which there is a paid model, and that's where you earn your privacy. That's where you get your privacy. You can pay for an AI assistant that is going to be managed and controlled by you, but that also means it's going to secure your data. And I think that's really important to understand, and it's really important to remember. Because of all of us, we always think Apple is secure. I mean, up and down the Vegas Strip, we see the billboards that has a picture of a lock instead of a picture of an apple. Apple is touting privacy. But yet, in their WWDC conference this year, the Apple Intelligence was released inside of iOS 18, inside of iPad OS 18, and inside of, Safari or Sequoia. If you read through this, right, Apple Intelligence is comprised of multiple, So this came from their terms and conditions when they released this platform. In the bottom, they had a machine learning link of how they're going to be doing and monitoring us as we use our iPhones. And it took you to a page that explained how they're going to be using generative AI on all phones, not just the ones that are using the Apple Intelligence. And the important thing to see is it says the foundation models built into Apple Intelligence have been fine-tuned for user experiences such as writing, refining text, prioritizing, and summarizing notifications. This creating playful images and taking in-app actions to simplify interactions across apps. So Apple is already taking the information that you have about yourself and putting that into the idea that we're going to be controlling the apps from the device itself. So I like to call this app stacking. So I specifically have an app stack of Spotify, Bank of America, LinkedIn, Readwise, and Bamboo. Those are the apps I've used, and I bet a few of you have never used some of those top 3 apps. But that means my data is sitting on a server somewhere in the world that is not accessible by somebody that is using YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Apple. And that's very important. I am the connector between my information between 2 servers that live at 2 different parts of the world. I'm the connection, right? And so if Apple was to start to gain information about both of the information that's passing between Bamboo and Readwise and LinkedIn and my messages, they're starting to get a better understanding of who I am and what type of information I'm willing to put out onto the internet. So by granting access to these AI models, my phone and all these apps will be deployed for me to complete searches or retrieve all of this information. So you can search anything. If you imagine that you have that search bar is going to be very prevalent with logged in experiences across your keyboard. And so if I wanted to find a house in Wakefield, Massachusetts, I no longer have to log into Zillow to find that house. I simply have to type in the search bar, find me a house, find me an open house this week in Wakefield, Massachusetts that I like. It would know that I have 2 kids and a dog, and go out and find similar houses that have open houses where I can go see them, right? I don't have to log into Zillow, go into the UI, filter through some houses and find it. I'm simply presented back with houses that are prevalent for me or important for me to build. We're already building this for our clients, and this is on the B2B side, right? And on the B2B side, you gotta think that there's gonna be 2 types of models that live on your phone, because if you download a laptop or you have a laptop and you're logged into a work experience, that work experience is going to have a different interface or a different model than the personal model, right? All of the personal apps that I showed you are not going to be wanted to share or train on the work environment. So it's very important that we start to control the 2 different environments, the work one and the personal one. In the company's case, we talked a lot about RAGs. Employee information and employee data will be shared across employees and brought onto my device so that we can all access documents as a workforce inside of an AI model. Then my persona can be added on top of that so that I can start writing and training on top of the AI model itself, and therefore interacting with my employees at work using the RAG system. In a few days, Microsoft's going to release Microsoft Recall. What that means is that they're going to be tracking every employee that's logged into Office 365 and every keystroke that's pressed on a keyboard when using a Microsoft Office 365 app. It's great and all for Microsoft, but that means the model that's deployed for the users on Office 365 are going to be continuing to train everything about themselves and their habits into Microsoft. The human tendencies, behaviors, and locations and messages will all start being managed by what I call weights. And so this is where it gets really important, because weights are the idea of my persona and who I am. I like dogs, I don't like cats, I like Legos, I like 3D printing, I like building products, I like traveling. All of these are signals that we're sending to the database. Each signal is very important because when you start combining them across the millions of signals I can pass through, whether it's at work or at work or at personal, I start to form a fingerprint. And this fingerprint is a very clear definition of who I am. And as I grow up, as I change my habits, as I modify my life, that fingerprint will adapt with me. It's the first time advertisers have had the opportunity to see someone's cookie history through all of the apps and all of the behaviors that they're doing kind of managed through their life. This information will be the most secure piece of information on any human. It will be analogous to having someone think of your thoughts and your behaviors in real time and create and predict those future actions. And this will all be based in real time and be acted on by similar users. So the first thing when I talk to all of the tech representatives to kind of figure out how we can fit into this future and how we can kind of talk about what is happening and what we can build together, the first thing that's very obvious is that there's going to be a unified search bar. And that unified search bar that lives on your phone is going to interrupt all of these apps that we've had in the past and how we've interacted with search bars before. As I said, if I wanted to find a toaster, I would go up to that search bar, which is Amazon, and search for a toaster so that I can interact with that database. If I wanted to, let's say, fly to Hawaii and visit Brad, I would go on TripAdvisor and maybe Airbnb, depending on the type of house that Airbnb has, and I would bounce between Booking.com. But I would be using 3 different search bars. In a future in which the AI models start to understand the one search bar can prompt all of these apps at one time, all of the data then gets managed into one location. This is why the big tech giants are crawling all of their search results right now and retrieving all of that so that they can learn what the tendencies are of all of our web searches. So now we get into who owns that search bar. And so at the time I thought, all of these devices, whether it's a laptop, a television, a car, you're driving, an Apple Pro or any of that, all of those search bars exist. Who's going to own that information if we're all entering it in from the keyboard? When I talked to them, I said, it's going to be the operating system, right? That makes the most sense. Because if the operating system is managing my data, it has to be the operating system in which is going to control that search bar. But it's not true, because if I'm on an Android device and a Windows device, my entire fingerprint model breaks. I need to be using the same model no matter what operating system I'm on. And they agreed. They said it can't be the operating system. So I thought it might be the browser, because if I'm on Google and I can download Google Chrome on the browser, I can use that on an Android device or an iPhone device, and I can then download that on any device I own. But it doesn't work. LLMs don't work on the browser well, and it also doesn't allow you to interact with the browser as a logged-in experience. I need to keep my data logged in. I need to keep it private, even if I'm using that paid option. So when I finally sat down with the idea, we all figured out that there's one place that we are all entering information in. The interaction between our brain and the device is the input device, the keyboard. And that is the location in which we all are racing to figure out how do we manage that keyboard and how do we manage the results that come in from that keyboard. And you're going to start to see commercials about AI assistants. And that's either Gemini or Siri or Amazon Alexa. And that's where the world starts changing. Because as we use this search bar, a lot of the searches that we're doing right now are not going to be the same searches we've done in the past. So forget about how the users get to your product today. How will users get to products tomorrow? And you have to think as entrepreneurs, and the people in this room that are trying to build any product that is making money online, search is going to be changing forever. Because as you think about how you use ChatGPT, it's how your customers are using ChatGPT. So when a Google prompt happens, you're searching differently in Google than you are in ChatGPT. the information being entered by the user and the results they expect are different in ChatGPT than they are with Google. And since that input device is the keyboard itself and that one giant search bar, that information that's being passed between the keyboard and the web doesn't necessarily have to come from the UI. It has to come from the agents and the people searching for that information. So this will affect every business on the internet. And I kept thinking there still seems to be a roadblock. And as I questioned and questioned and questioned, I tried to figure out what is the missing piece here, because it still doesn't seem like ChatGPT has solved that many problems besides being a more fun place to search. Can anyone guess what that missing piece was? It was time. Time unlocks the missing piece of ChatGPT. And it unlocks the missing piece of why keyboards in ChatGPT haven't been so successful and completely disrupting and changing how the internet is functioning. What happens with time is it gives you the ability to manage when things happen that doesn't come from your brain, but comes from a location or an event or something that's happening in your life where an agent can go and take an action for you without you trying to tell it to do something through a device. In an agentic future, time becomes the largest source of inputs from each AI model. As a day starts, certain events happen, scheduled events happen, and all of the actions can be performed. So let's jump all the way back to this slide that we had before. When a human has to find a device, we were talking about this being our co-pilot. When you add time to the mix, it really limits the process of what you have to search for and what devices you have to interact with, and it leaves you with just agents deployed and results are shown. And that is the missing piece. That is the thing that we're all trying to figure out. How do we interact with a device, and how do we interact with the future of the internet when time is a factor calling all of the information on the internet for us and not the human itself? So if you haven't taken notes so far, this is the part in which it's going to be very important, I believe, at least for your business. Because the most important thing I wanted to take out of this is trying to instruct you or trying to explain that once we know that the AI assistants are going to be the future and not the operating system, we have to design for the searches that humans have when we interact with an AI assistant, when we interact with Siri, not when we type into Google. So LLMs are going to be smart enough to predict the response to questions and skip over a lot of the top of the funnel stuff. As we've seen in the previous slides, and as we've seen in our ChatGPT experience, the top of the funnel becomes almost erroneous. It's not as needed as it was in the past. And the LLM part of this, the conversational thing that'll be happening, is always context aware, it's personalized, and it has the ability to retrieve the information that's necessary for you to understand that the question you asked is going to get the answer you need without a second search. Humans will always choose the lazy options. Just like water flowing through a dam, it'll find the shortest path and the one with least resistance. Even if AI overviews are wrong or incorrect, humans are still going to use that as their search results because it's a quicker experience than clicking on the blue link, waiting for the website to load, and then trying to retrieve the information. The top of the funnel search is dying quickly. And that's where we've all talked about it this weekend, where CNET has had such a difficult time in the last few months. They are clearly a top of the funnel website that was built specifically for SEO purposes so that when somebody asked, what is noise canceling headphones or how do I buy some, CNET had strategized to put all of the information in one place to help the buyer decide what noise canceling headphone they needed to purchase. As you search through CNET, you would always find these affiliate links, whether they're Walmart or Amazon or any of those links on the right. Just this week in AI Labs, this is the result I got when I searched noise canceling headphones. This is the entire page that loaded. I didn't click show me more. I didn't click pull down more. This is the result. And the first thing you see is all of the CNET, and when we go back to that page, you can ask me later to kind of go back and forth, but the CNET information is displayed here in the top left. It gives you an overview of each of the products, and then more importantly, it goes through each of the CNET reasons to buy noise canceling headphones, which is sound quality, design, connectivity, comfort, and noise canceling, and ranks each headphone by the category that CNET had told you was most important to the users. It also gave you ideas of, do you need these headphones for sleeping, for autism, for travel, for moving? Those are all the scenarios they talked about in those articles. But the most important and interesting thing is that Google took the links that I showed you from the affiliate links, stripped them, and gave you direct links to Bose, Sony, and Sonos. And I didn't go anywhere besides this page to understand everything I needed to know from that CNET page. And this is happening day by day. The other thing that Google's doing is, as of last week, I believe, they released Google Labs, that AI overview, to all non-logged in users. So if you were a logged in user, like we all are for business, you would see these every once in a while. Everybody using Google is now seeing these results. So these AI overviews are eating the top of the funnel very, very quickly. As we peel this back to the AI agent world, not only is the top of the funnel degrading, the AI agents that are being deployed from any of these platforms, whether they're a CRM or whether they're a human using an AI assistant and then deploying their own AI agent, those AI agents are asking websites for information. The websites are specifically catered to how AI can read that website and retrieve information that's necessary for the user that's asked for something from, let's say, Zillow.com, from our previous examples. Humans will not have to log into another interface to use a search bar. Their AI assistant will take care of that for them. And so herein lies the takeaway. Build for the middle of the funnel. We all know how to use ChatGPT because we've used it for so long, well, a year, I guess, but we use it differently than we use Google for a reason, and so do our customers. In the middle of the funnel is exactly what the results are when we search ChatGPT because we're trying to save some time. We have to start understanding as business owners that our customers are trying to save time as well. We have to build for those agents that are coming from other websites, from CRMs, from booking sites, from Delta.com. All of these websites are using AI agents to pull information just like they did from CNET. So we have to make our sites available for the middle of the funnel and those types of products so that people can make the correct buying decisions. So it's our mission as entrepreneurs to adapt to this new paradigm. Business models are not going to change overnight, and we do not have to become AI experts. We just need to become adaptable. The way we search for information is never going to be the same. Our business traffic sources and tools and SaaS products are going to change one by one, but we still hold on to one of the most important things in all of our businesses that we've built over all these years, and that's data. Kurt has all of the information from Disney for the last 5 years and how many different sites and different events happened at Disney. He has that all loaded into all of his content sites. I had Mike on here because I thought Mike was going to be here, but Mike knows all the suits and when somebody goes to purchase a suit, what time of day they try to purchase their suit, and when they try to purchase their second suit. He knows all that data. So when an AI agent or somebody asks for, hey, what is the best time to buy a suit, Mike knows that information. All of your websites have incredible databases, and these databases can be used for middle of the funnel search and agentic searches. And so we have to start designing for that future. We have to start designing for the new way that the internet is being run. Because we're using ChatGPT that way, our customers soon will too. It took 1,337 days for $1 billion company to crumble. That's how, and all of the companies that replaced it, including Netflix, took about 1,337 days to be some of the largest companies on the stock market. Where are we all going to be in that period of time? Are we going to be asking, what if I change my business today? Or are we going to be sitting here and saying, I'm glad I modified to the new internet? And this is not the Matrix, it's not a fantasy. This is happening. I'm part of the world of building these types of agents and deploying them onto the internet themselves. One of the great scenes in the Matrix is Neo is not believing that the world is different than the one he's been living in. He's been in offices and stuff. And Morpheus meets him and says, hey, I would like to show you a different world. And so Neo goes down into the rabbit hole and discovers that the Matrix is something and it is real. And he finally wakes up for the first time and he looks up at Morpheus and Morpheus says, welcome to the real world. I think we have to realize that AI is here to stay, and the middle of the funnel and the information that we're trying to retrieve from our customers is what we have to focus on so that we can sell products the same way we've always wanted to sell products. I think this is the real world, and we have the content and the information and all of the business acumen to solve the same problems that we do today for the AI future. So that is my talk on AI. I appreciate you all listening through, and that's Rhodium 2024. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys.